pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, could we have an approval of our May 15th board minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Abstain.
Have a motion to excuse Charlie
So moved.
Stewart tonight?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval of vouchers.
General fund, $22,044.34. Water fund, $24,147.21. Sewer fund, $4,834.80. And the capital fund, $672,822.66. I move that all of those be approved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Five Streets Capital Project, utility reconstruction. Any updates on that? Do you have anything? I have nothing. Do you have anything, Paul?
No.
Okay, any updates on outdoor street lighting, LED conversion?
I haven't heard anything.
You haven't, nothing new? The last I heard, they would be here in June to go over things with us, right? So-
Yeah, that was the last update.
New York State Downtown Revitalization Initiative, that's moving along quite well. We had a meeting yesterday, kind of put the final touches on the draft. We'll be checking it over by noon tomorrow. The last items that anybody had to be into us by noon tomorrow, and we'll be putting the final package together and going over it with consultants again. And we're on track to have everything submitted by noon on Friday. So we should be in good shape. We got about 25 applications at the moment. We've had some good letters of support. So I think we got a good chance. Anybody got any questions on that?
Is there, the awards sometime in the fall,
Late summer.
late summer?
Early fall,
I
right?
was gonna say, the announcement would be hopefully they're expecting to be around August, September, October. And then after that happens, the state comes in and gets involved with you, and then you figure out who's actually gonna get the grant money. And then that award is made in March of 2020. Okay, moving on to new business, budget amendments. Anybody got any questions on those? If not, I'd like a motion to,
I'll make a motion for the general fund, budget transfers as presented by Pam. Today's copy to us.
I'll second it.
have a second?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll then make a motion for the water fund budget amendment transfers.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't.
I made a motion for the water fund transfers as presented.
And I'm seconding.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then finally, the sewer fund budget amendments. I'll make a motion for that.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fire department agreement. I need a motion to give me permission to sign that for the Lowville Fire Department.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence. Cindy Bailey, Delling Place Ministries, request for permission to hold event at Veterans Park. We had an event last year, as far as I would say, I think all they need to do is just come into the office and fill out the proper paperwork for use of the park.
Provide the insurance.
Does anybody have any?
And provide the cert of insurance. Other than that, no, I don't have a problem. I'll make the motion that, based on them providing certificate of insurance, and filling out the appropriate paperwork that, and appropriate fees, if any, that we allow them to use the park on that date.
I'll second it.
Okay, now that, your motion was, it's approved if they provide a certificate of insurance.
And do the appropriate paperwork.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got information back on site plan review for the Lewis County planning on temp retail sales. Approved with the conditions. Anybody have any questions on that? Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I spoke with Phil Street and the Tug Hill Commission last week on temporary permits, and he was pretty specific on what the zoning officer should and should not approve. Basically, if there's anything arbitrary, then it shouldn't be approved by the zoning officer. So if there is any parking or lighting or access requirements of any kind required, then it should go through site plan approval, in his opinion. So then I went back and looked at different temporary zoning permits for the town of Lowville and the village of Lowville, of course, Martinsburg and Montague. And basically, every one of them is basically specific to, you can issue a temporary permit for like an interim dwelling when you're building another one, or emergency dwelling from loss of fire, or temporary uses incidental to a construction project, kind of like the village of Lowville is, and they have those same things. The first one is temporary uses incidental to a construction project, then temporary real estate sales and service incidental to a subdivision, temporary roadside stands, and other similar temporary incidental uses. Now, the fourth one down, D, is I think the only problem, where it says temporary resale services, events greater than or equal to 1,000 square feet in area. When this all came about, I can remember it coming in the office, we had the discussion, and we labeled it as retail sales and service, because that's what it was labeled at last year. And when you think about it, when they come in with a tent like that, there's parking issues, there's could be lighting issues, it could be whatever.
Well, wait, Tom, the tenant itself, or Tim, the tenant itself would be more than 1,000 square feet, wouldn't it?
That one wasn't.
Okay.
Okay, so we labeled it retail sales and service. Well, then when it got to Kathy through the joint planning board, she basically thought it was a temporary permit under this temporary permit law. And I don't know that I really agree with that. It's kind of a tough situation. So if you took this fireworks tent and put it someplace else, wouldn't you want a review of that somewhere? I know it was in the same spot last year, but if it came up again and it was going to be down by the dollar store somewhere, wouldn't the village want to review that? Or would they want to would they want the zoning officer to just say yes? Because the zoning officer can't really go in there and say, you know, you gotta have this much parking, you gotta have that. He can just say yes or no when it's basically not arbitrary.
You mean the village board or the village planning board?
Either one, you know what I'm saying? The way it's cited in there, I think if you took that one section out, you could let your zoning officer approve temporary permits, but that wouldn't alleviate the issue on these fireworks tents at all. Because like you're saying, they're spending $150 for a permit, and didn't you say it was costing up to $1,000 possible to review it, right?
If you have, with the planning board, and then if you have your public hearing and everything,
Right.
by the time you pay all your board members.
You know, I'll think out loud, and the whole thing of these temporary tents bothers me. Because a business that sets up shop, pays taxes, can be competed on at any time for $150. And I realize if they follow code, there's really not a lot we can do, but it's just counterproductive in my eyes. But that being said, I think I'd like to see it so that, to keep the rigmarole out of it, have it set so that the code enforcement officer had the wherewithal to approve or disapprove.
I think that's a good idea. I just think that it's gonna take a little more research.
Right, it needs to be written so that there's not a
Yes.
loophole for the Philadelphia lawyers.
Well, even if you take that section D out of there, so it has nothing to do with retail sales and services, because it's retail sales and service of tents, what's it approved? Where is it here? Greater than or equal to 1,000 square feet in ground area. This one was 30 by 30, so it was 900 square feet. So it doesn't even, you know, maybe you could lessen that requirement, I suppose. You know, so if it was a smaller tent or a roadside stand or whatever. But either way, it's still an issue with these fireworks tents or whatever that are coming in. I just think I need to talk. It was a quick call to Phil Street, and we didn't have much time to talk. I think we need to have somebody like that who has experience. I think it just takes more research than just saying, do it. I wish Joe was here to hear that. So I think I need to look into it more, if that's all right,
Yeah.
and research it more and look at maybe even some other municipalities that aren't in Lewis County, that see what their wording is, and maybe we can come up with something that is best for the village, I guess. Because these tents come up. I mean, there was one in Lions Falls last year, there was one, what was the other one? There's like 3 or 4 of them here in the county.
I was say, one year there was 2 in the town of Lowville.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe it's not an issue when they're out there by boondocks where there's a big parking lot and all that, but it depends on where you're putting them here in the village. It could be an issue. It could be a parking issue, it could be a traffic issue, correct?
Especially this year.
So I think it takes,
Especially this year.
yeah, especially this year, but I think it takes more than just, it
Yes.
could be arbitrary.
No, I didn't say it was your fault. We
Anyway,
looked at black and white.
I will look into it farther if that's all right. And report at the next meeting, all that.
All right, thank you.
I say we
Ben?
don't all set up this
Okay, moving on, we have a request from the Girl Scouts to use Memorial Park on August 17th, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 3.
I'll make the
The
same
only
motion.
question I have on that is, second paragraph down, it says which activities which will include edible campfires.
Yeah, I didn't understand what that was either.
I'm not sure.
I asked her about that. It's just food, like pretzel sticks and,
So there's no fires involved? Okay. So, there again, I think once they fill out the proper paperwork and turn it into Wendy, then
Says they're gonna provide the insurance.
they said they're gonna provide the insurance.
I may make the same motion again. I'll make the same motion that, provided they give the proper insurance, and fill out the proper paperwork, that they be allowed to use the park as requested.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Thomas Woodrick, wants to resign from the town and village zoning board. Hate to see him get off, but he's gotta do what's best for himself. No, I think that's just for our information, we don't have to prove that. He's gotta quit if he wants.
Okay,
Did you wanna,
we got one last thing, Joe, that we gotta do,
okay,
and I think each of you should have received a copy of the proposed raises for the administrative personnel. And, unions got theirs, and, the DPW and the, other than salary people, the police department has theirs. These raises are anywhere from 0 to 3%, and you have them, and based on what I'm proposing these raises, effective June 1st, with the new fiscal year. So I'll make the motion based on what we have here for the administrative personnel, and if I can get a second.
I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a need for executive session? I don't believe so.
I've just got one thing that I briefly described the summer rec situation last meeting. But knowing that there's gonna be a meeting here, I just wanna make you guys aware of, Dan Myers is looking for, I guess, permission to hire. And we're looking to do a 6-week program, so I don't know if that's something we wanna entertain. I'm not actually even sure how this works, because I know that I talked about it before, the county and the town and the village both split that amount. We budgeted $25,000, which actually will, the old agreement was a 70-30% split, so that would give the town 30% of that. Dan's budget for a 6-week program, which, honestly, crunching all the numbers with the staff, we don't think that 4 weeks will work, as far as a program. He had a $44,000 budget, which we moved that down to $40,000 with double play trying to come up with some cuts. So, Randy Shaw was at the one meeting that I attended. We agreed to a 65-35 split if we approve that. So I guess what is a little bit confusing is I guess we kind of drive the bus as far as we budget it, and then they don't actually match it, they just come up with a percentage of it. So our share of that 65% would be $26,000, and the towns would be $14,000. But that would be a change from our budget amount.
Has the town agreed to pay that $14,000?
Randy has verbally said, yep, they're all in. I honestly think, Joe, what we ought to look at, because we had kind of a meeting to revitalize that summer rec, or I guess it's a recreation committee in general. What I would like to see for budget purposes is us say what we can contribute, and then they say what they can contribute, and kind of get this 65-35 or 70-30 is kind of an antiquated way of doing it. I'd rather say if they can come up with $15,000, and we know that this is how much the program's gonna cost. We've also discussed, and I think we will get some support, I don't know how much, county support or the surrounding towns as well. Dan's got all that demographics of who uses the program. What we've done in the past is we bill the town, so if, say the county said that they can come up with $4,000 or $5,000, we would just bill them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the town's on board.
I do know Randy and I sent letters to some of the surrounding towns.
Yeah,
And we've heard back from Martinsburg.
okay,
They're not gonna do anything this year.
okay.
They said they would
See,
consider it in their budget next year.
that's the hard part, and see what, everybody's on a different budget cycle. So I think our hope for the future is to get moving a little bit. If we get this, Mike Young's had some health issues. I guess he's the chairman of it. To try to get some new blood in there as well. We've got some vacancies to try to fill. So if we get ourselves a little bit more organized as that committee goes, then we might be, because like you said, and then the county even has a different budget cycle as well. So, but they need to
And I know
start
the
moving.
town of Watson tabled it to their next meeting.
Okay.
You're looking for $1,000 more from the village, and I'm looking at it as a 6-week program versus a 4-week program. I'm looking at it as
Danny, I
funding for
don't,
the kids and employment for our youth, and I agree, I don't see how any of them are gonna they're gonna all compete for other jobs at a 4-week job.
I agree with you, Danny, on $1,000, but it's not gonna break us, I don't think. And actually, I had a phone call this morning from a person that was quite concerned about our program and wanted it to continue and would like to see the 6 weeks. But that's why I'm trying to find out from Ed if he's sure the town is gonna put in
Randy said it wouldn't be any problem, so, I mean, we could have a,
because what they've contributed in the past, when it's all been broke down, ends up being a little over 7,000.
right, that's the way the old 70-30 would be.
And I mean, I think it'll work, Pam, if they give us the 14,000, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can do the 26, but the town, I don't know what the town.
Well, let's make the motion that we will proceed as long as the town gives the amount that we have determined they need.
And I wanted to talk to Randy this morning, but I just missed him.
So, I missed a couple times with him too, and I missed the last meeting that we had was the end of this past month, I think on the 20th or whatnot.
Plus this, we don't even get this anymore.
But yeah, that's what was kinda weird about that old 70-30 split, is we kinda dictated to them what they were going to pay. It wasn't, you see what I'm saying? It was a 30, so we could have picked any number, high or low, and they would have done 30% of it. So that's why I think we ought to just look at it each as a budget item and say, if they have their budget as, their cycle's different than ours, I think they go.
I'd like to say 100%, but seeing how they found out that the water leak was their fault, not ours, maybe
I tried them to get to 60-40 instead of 65-35, but like Joe's saying, I mean, they're doubling their contribution.
But when it comes to the county, just so you know, we've already received through the youth bureau at the county
Right, that's-
$450
Yeah.
towards the rec program. So they may consider that their.
So that'll be, right, so that's the other thing is, yeah, and I wanna make sure that, I mean, that's the other thing is, being on the double play board as well, he's trying to raise money to buy land and build other things, so I want him to understand that, hey, if we get donations from Joe Q Public, because they're gonna have to come up with 4,000 themselves, either that or cut it. So, they've also contributed in the past too. I think last year it was like 32,000 and we came up with the 25.
And just, I know there's a couple of new people here. Just so you know, in the past, when it comes to the recreation program, we've usually received about $4,000 from Pratt North.
Yeah.
And starting this year, that's gone away. We do not get any money,
I
any funding at all from Pratt North.
I'm speaking for, Danny would know the ins and outs of this, but I wanna say he gets workerships there, but it's,
Well, I'm saying this was money that was actually came to the
Right.
village that was put into.
that's why I say to come out of our 26, is, to offset that 26,000. I mean, the town's saying they're gonna come up with a 35%, which would be the 14,000, the easy math, so. And I've sat down with him, and that's what I told him, I said, would you have a problem with, I guess it was 14,000 was the difference, and he said no, and that was last month's meeting, but I don't, yeah, I would make the
Well,
motion.
Double Play must have, Danny must have sharpened his pencil a little bit too, because
Yeah,
now we're looking at 40,000 for the total program.
Yeah,
And originally it was 44.
44, yeah, we've got, and that was basically, Mike Young was the one that kind of orchestrated the whole thing. He did the math to say if we did a 65-35 split, and I was all ears, but I didn't want to speak for our board. And then Randy said yes to that, and Dan said, yeah, he could run it on 40,000 and either make some cuts. And that would be the only other thing. We'd have to either cut personnel, because I just did the math of it. I mean, at the minimum wage, he's talking about, and he'll give us our final numbers, but you're talking 25, close to 25,000 when you figure, I think there's 7 for the rec program, and I think there's 6 for the pool, or vice versa. So at 11, 12 bucks an hour, I think it's 12 for the lifeguards.
The lifeguards get more, I believe.
Yeah, they do. And that's what's hard to get their certification. I mean, it's, sometimes the program take them longer to get certified than the program will be. So, I'd make the motion, like I say, contingent on the, what would we do, Pam, do we just normally bill them?
I bill them at the end of the year.
At the end of the
It's
year.
always for summer rec and winter
Do we want,
skating.
yeah, do we wanna just have them make a motion at their next meeting, or how do we, I don't, guess I
Well, we
don't.
can make a motion if you
Contingent on their agreement
contingent
to it.
on theirs.
Yep. And I think Danny's just getting to the time where I think he doesn't wanna lose people as far as employees, so he wants to be able to say, hey, you don't wanna hire somebody, then say all of a sudden you're gonna cut the program by a third either,
Right.
so.
I'll second that motion.
that's a-
Okay, all in favor of, raising our recreational to 26,000, pending town kicking in 14?
Aye.
Thank you. I have one more thing just to make everybody aware of. Speaking of money in the town. Out back here, we have, basically it's a lift station that operates the sewer system. It's kind of like a grinder setup, and it pumps the sewage out because it can't run by gravity. That pump has failed a couple of times, and they've had to Billy just come over and pump it out with our back truck. So basically, the system out there's gotta be replaced, and the town has got an estimate to do it, and they're planning on going ahead and having it done, but it's a little over $4,100. So we will be sharing in that expense. I'm thinking we're probably gonna be somewhere around 41% of it, just so the board knows that we'll have that expense coming up. Something that has to be done. We gotta have a sewer system that works. Anybody else have any business they'd like to bring before the board?
I got a couple updates if you want to hear them.
Yep.
Bear Paving is going to do our 4 streets for roughly $109,000. That's mill, tack coat, and paved top on our streets. All the milling is going to be profiled, so hopefully we get a little better runoff with our water, especially on Easton and Collins Street. The other thing is we had a meeting, myself and Joe's there, had a meeting with Kraft, Brian Western and a couple of guys, and things are going well with them. I think we're on a good playing field with them now. Things are just running smooth. We're gonna be making sure everything works out with them cleaning and using a lot of water, and we're gonna just kind of coordinate with them, and I think things are going well.
Good. You said the paving was gonna be 109,000?
109,000 and some change,
That's chips.
and that will be CHIPS money, so
Yeah.
it won't cost the village anything. Initially it will,
Do
but
you
I'm
have
gonna
any
get
dates on that one?
I do not. I was waiting for a phone call from parents today, but they didn't get back to me. But it will be done before the 3rd week in July, which is the fair.
What are the 4 streets?
Eugene Street, Eugene, Collin, Easton, and Parkway.
Hey, anybody else have anything? Guess that brings us down to adjournment.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Thanks a lot, man.
Somebody leave.
Quite loud.